What's going on, everybody?
What
Welcome to
up?
the fourth episode of the Pedro and podcast, Pedro and Hannibal podcast. You can tell I'm fully alert. My name is Hannibal. I'm with Mr. Bet on You,
What up,
Chicago's
peeps?
own, St. Louis's own Pedro. How are you doing, my
I'm
friend?
good, brother, man. How are you? I'm ready for this one, man. I'm ready, ready, ready.
This is going to be a very exciting one. We're going to be talking about 80s hip hop. I was thinking about putting some 80s hip hop on here, but I know YouTube with the copies, whatever.
Yeah,
So I
you know
couldn't
how they do. Yeah, that's
couldn't put
crazy.
that there. There's so many sounds and so much music from that era, from that decade. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. And, this is live. So we got people in chat already. I know I've seen Jose in there. I see Bobby in there. What's up,
Bobby,
guys?
shout out, boys. What up?
Just throw out, this is going to be a really organic conversation. Just throw out some artists that, really, you love from the era, throw out stories. We want to talk about everything 80s hip hop in this episode. I know Pedro spent quite amount of time listening to 80s hip hop. So I'm going to give you the floor, man. Like, tell me, because, I was born in 84.
hmm
I'm sure what, 80?
I'm 81, so
Okay.
I think a lot of the music we're going to talk about, we were kids, and we weren't listening to it when it dropped, right? We're
Mhm.
maybe 7, 8, 9. We're not really in it, right? But as you become older, you start, for me, 90s and the early 2000s is a lot of my hip hop, but then you start recognizing, well, okay, what these guys are talking about who now, and then you go back and look. So I became a young adult when I got into the 80s
Mhm.
music, right, and started learning a little bit, but it had been a while, bro. So I had to go back and like look up some albums, and it was nice, man. You forget some of these names. We talk about some of the goats now. We don't pay enough homage to these guys that started it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was nice to go down and listen to some music I hadn't heard for a while. Listen to songs that I knew were classics, but really listen to them a little bit and understand the relevance of that time and what they were saying. So I will say this: there were some songs that I heard that were popular then, or maybe they're like commercially popular, that I think are really bad, like trash.
Oh,
Like,
uh-oh.
yeah,
So,
I think some is a little corny. So if you're offended by some of my corny choices, that's cool, but I'm gonna keep it real. So I'm interested in diving in. So
I understand, and we're gonna get into that. I know, like, what was really hot back then necessarily doesn't necessarily translate. Like, there's some songs and some
right.
artists that is just like it's a timeless and it's just timeless. It doesn't matter what era you put them in. That this artist is going to destroy and just run everything up. Garden State was born in 1998. Youngin, huh?
Oh wow.
Let me tell you about these kids out nowadays. They're there. Jose 82.
Okay.
So we go to the beginning. So yeah, I was born in 84. Similar to you. I didn't. My real root in hip hop is probably growing up in the 90s. I mean, first I was
Mhm.
able to remember it. And born in 84. By the time 1990s, I was like 6, 7. So, but being in New York City, being in Brooklyn, I do remember a lot of the 80s artists because it's here. It would be on, not necessarily having music videos and stuff like that, but you heard it in the radio. There was a local access TV, but that's more in the 90s. But I don't know, it may have been on 1990s. It was called Video Box, and the host was Ralph McDaniels, and it's some
Mm.
like local access thing. He wasn't on like a regular network show, and
Mhm.
he would interview hip hop artists. And he would like so it started. I mean, obviously, it started here in New York City,
Yeah.
Bronx.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny when you talk about like corny music, where like let's go from the way back. The biggest first hit was 1989,
Mhm.
Sugar Hill, Rapper's Delight. Hip
Hip
hop,
hop, hip hop, and it don't stop. Yeah, 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 yeah.
where
I mean,
everyone's
that's like
probably
one of the most commercial, right? Yeah,
yeah,
big
and
hit.
and it was because the how everything started with hip hop was it was about partying. It was a platform for parties. They didn't necessarily make records. They were just trying to get a crowd together, get
Yeah,
people interactive, getting them
yeah.
just to have a good time, and they'll just go back and forth spitting rhymes. And then it kind of went, rappers alike, where one producer said, "I want to make a record," and just
Mhm.
grabbed like 3 random guys that could rap, and then they put which we listen to it now. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love that, but it's so corny. and it's
Yeah.
a disco. It's really a disco vibe when you think
Yeah.
about it. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. Like it's very disco vibe.
Yeah.
But from then on, it started getting a little better and a little bit more refined. And at that time, even when that record came out, many people didn't think that rap or hip hop was going to be where it
Yeah.
is
I
now.
think they thought it was going to be a fad, right?
Yeah.
And now it's hip hop is like even pop music. It's the number one right now for some people would consider. You know what I mean? So interesting you bring them up. I mean, I think I didn't have them on my corny list when I was in my brain because
Okay.
I think they're just so it's such iconic and they paved the way and you know what I mean with the bars and having the hook and like they really took what like Africa and Bombada was trying to do and what the guys were trying to do at the house parties and get the crowd going and they took it to like okay this is on like TV they're recording it these guys you know it's a song you know versus just a beat but yeah I mean if that song came out today it's trash. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
yeah,
No,
definitely.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It would be it'd be like, is this a new Drake album? What is this trash? Like, you know,
It's
but
don't disrespect Drake. We're not going to get into Drake slander here. We're talking about the 80s. He
80s.
wasn't
Okay,
born
I'll
yet. Was he
stay in
born
mine.
yet?
My bad.
He
I
wasn't
don't
even
think so.
born yet.
I think I think he was born in who cares? Anyways, 80s. Stay focused, Pedro.
Yeah, it's but they paved the way that
Yeah,
it can be a
absolutely.
commercially. I mean, everyone played that song. Everyone played that song. It was a really, really big deal. And that's how it started. Hip hop. It was a party. Is you go out there, is the beat, it's the interactive with the crowd. I mean, that's why I think hip hop shows is so amazing and especially live. I don't know if you guys ever go to see a live show. If your favorite rapper is performing, go check it out live. It's a whole different feel than watching a YouTube video or
Yeah.
listening. It's live music. It's a whole, especially if they can perform well, and which would make it really interesting. And Garden State kind of put it up right there when rappers were able to not just talk about partying, like the message. Like I still listen to that song at least once a
Yeah.
year, or at least every couple months. That was a powerful song.
Yeah.
Powerful, especially that last verse. Powerful. Whereas, like, yeah, things were messed up
Yeah.
in the
Big time.
80s, crime, inflation.
The crack epidemic, you
Mhm.
know, a lot was going on, police brutality, you know, we have it now, but it was then, you know, there was a lot going on. So then you had these rappers, you know, NWA, you know, Eazy-E,
Yeah.
LL, Slick Rick, Rakim, EPMD, Run DMC, like you had all these guys and they started telling stories like Garden State was talking about storytelling a little bit, right? And then for me, that's when the 80s they started being a little more lyrical. You know, Ice Cube, Ice T, they're talking about and they're talking about the neighborhoods, but then the lyrics kind of came in. So you had these dope ass beats. Well, for me, the beats in the 80s are just you cannot compare. I mean, there's great beats now, but like the beats are just so different because they're so innovative for me, right?
Mhm.
There's just and they're just classic. And you have to understand, I think when they're making this stuff, like they're making it with very little things like technology, you know what I mean? So to think about what they were doing then versus now, it's auto tune and this. It's easier to make a beat now than it was 35 years ago. So you know the beats were just crazy. Then the lyrics started to catch up, you know. Um, but yeah, the 80s, man, that the message is crazy. But for me, I was listening to some stuff today and I forgot like you look at like guys like Ice Cube, LL, and Ice T, right? Those are three significant guys in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
They're not the top, but they're in there. You know, they're in there, right? And you look at like Ice T's on like Law and Order. You got LL, who knows what he's doing, some game show.
He's
Ice
been acting for
Cube's,
a minute. He's
yeah,
been
yeah.
acting for a
Ice
minute.
Cube's doing Disney movies, and he's a businessman. These dudes they were from the streets, you know,
I
like
would, I would, I would, I would challenge you. I in terms of those three,
mhm,
LL was the man in the 80s. He was the
absolutely
man. I
very.
mean,
I think he's very underrated. I don't think enough people give him credit.
yeah. When he was able, and that's another thing that kind of came out of like, yeah, hip hop definitely started from the Bronx, but it started to filter out in different boroughs. And Queens was where they had Russell Simmons,
Hmm.
and he was starting this thing together.
Def Jam,
And
yeah,
his brother Run, like he was like, hey, you rap, oh yeah, get DMC, and that came together, which is probably the first, I would say, the first mainstream, like artist that like mainstream art was Run DMC, the
right. Because
brand.
they did a song with Aerosmith, and I think
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
catapulted hip hop and them. You know what I mean? Like the Walk This Way, that was huge when that
yeah.
song came out, man. Yeah.
And the mix that they had, like Run DMC was very like has some rock influences. That's an interesting thing about how fast. I think what amazed me is how fast things came together for terms of hip hop in the 80s. Just the 80s, how they were able to do like the techno funk stuff with the, African Bambaataa with Planet
Hmm.
Rock with Planet Funk and
Plank Rock, yeah.
yeah, and then how it went from like Rick Rubin doing, rock kind of ish beats with, what he had it with on Run DMC. He worked with the Beastie Boys, which
Hmm.
if we want to go into 80s artists that were very popular that I personally did not get into, the Beastie Boys is probably the first one. For some
Mm.
reason, they never connected with me. The one song I love is Sabotage, and that is not
Yeah.
a hip hop. I mean, I love
Well,
Sabotage. It's a
I
rock.
think they were able to bring in a whole new fan base,
Yeah,
right? Based on what they're from, how they look like. That was a very good move. The guys were talented, though. They did a lot. They produced a lot of their own stuff along with Rick Rubin. They were talented guys, but their album still now to this day sells like tens of thousands of copies, or at least it did a few years back. Like when people were buying CDs, that
yeah,
album was like it's one of the top selling albums in hip hop. So I didn't get into BC Boys as much. I know the classic songs, and I actually like some of their newer stuff that would come out. They were really getting like kind of techno with it and like crazy and like trying things. I kind of liked some of that stuff that they were trying, even 10, 15 years after. You're talking like early 2000s, 20
yeah,
years
yeah,
after they came out.
yeah.
It was kind of interesting stuff. But they put their footprint on. I mean, you can't talk about the A's without talking about Beastie Boys. You just can't,
Yeah, people
you know.
love them, and
Oh, yeah,
it's like as I
big
listen
time.
to, I'm thinking like, what is? I'm not. I'm just. It's just but that's the thing. The great thing about music, it touches people differently, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, we went from the party stuff, but then it went to serious. It went from gangster. Basically, it's starting to that gangster rap. Basically, started in the 80s.
Yeah.
The political stuff. Someone mentioned in the chat about that's another group. Don't hate me, which is weird because I'm black. Public Enemy.
Mm. Fight the power now.
Chuck D rapping off beat and not rhyming. Just, I love Flavor Flav. It shows how ratchet I am.
Oh man. So you
First of all,
giving
Flavor
hold on,
Flav
hold on,
is
hold on. You
actually
giving homage to Flavor Flav.
the dude could play me. He had the ability to play like several instruments. The dude
I
is
had
he's
no
like one
idea.
of those. I'm not gonna say the word because I won't get in trouble with YouTube, but
Yeah.
he play the piano. Like he actually is musically talented.
Mhm.
And I guess what Public Enemy made it work is because they had the wacky Flavor Flav with Chuck
Yes.
D. I mean, I still love Fight the. I mean, I love their image, the way they looked,
Sure.
the clothing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing about the 80s. The late 70s, early 80s, especially with the African band, like they dressed up as chieftains and
Yeah, it was
a lot of them
different.
wear
Yeah.
really weird, which stuff is it's funny now when people say how these kids to wear the tight clothes and they look kind of funny. Go back to the 80s. Go back
Go
to the
back,
early 80s.
look at Rick James. He wasn't hip hop, but look at Rick James.
There.
Look
I
at
mean,
look at look at Prince. Look at Prince.
they'll
Look at
stab you. Like
I mean,
don't
yeah,
mess
but
like
like look at those guys that I mean, they were different.
there's a picture of Isley brothers, and
Oh,
they all looked as tight as ever. And
dude,
I'm sure you saw this photo.
listen, no lie, I like the Isley Brothers. I'm not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
lie.
definitely. No,
Oh,
no.
dude, you talking R&B? That's my
Oh,
shit right
of
there,
course,
man.
of
I
course.
love it.
But I'm saying, go back in time and try to pick a fight with them and see what happens to you. Like
Oh,
just because they look that way, they
good
would
point.
all stab you. Like they don't play around. So it's interesting that we kind of look at that image.
Mhm.
But the 80s with the way they look, I love the Run DMC look. I like shell toe Adidas, the
Oh,
hat
yeah.
with chain,
Glasses, bucket
glasses,
hat. Oh, yeah, man.
black.
That's classic.
Rakim, the way
Dude,
Rakim looked, Big
I
Daddy Kane.
Rakim, I forgot how his voice I mean, it's so unique and powerful, right? I forgot about him. Sometimes, like, you don't forget, but I'm going back listening. I'm like, oh man. And then, you mentioned, we talked about Slick Rick earlier, but like Big Daddy Kane,
Yeah,
MC Shan. I got a list here. LL, you got Dougie Fresh, Houdini, NWA Ice-T. You talked about Easy E already. Um, What was the other one I had on here? Missing one. MC Light, Queen Latifah, Pay Homage to the Women, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
definitely.
Cool G Rap, De La Soul. Like, there's so many we forget. And some of the music when I was listening, it's like, man, this is kind of corny. Like the lyrics, like, because I'm a lyric guy. So my first album, as we talked about, we'll get into the 90s next week, y'all. But I'm more knowledgeable about 90s, but like Nas and all that music, right? Pac,
Yeah, but it's gonna be
Biggie,
it's
Jay-Z.
a whole different thing. Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. And I think in the 90s they catapulted the lyrics and like really refined it. But some of the 80s, man, it's like, man, they're just saying like it's just boom, 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 boom. And it's just a
Well,
little off some of it, but
yeah, Pedro, you're so bougie. All right, well, they just started. It's, hip hop and hippity hop hop. Like not everyone's able
I
to.
know, I know, I
So,
know.
I like the way you brought that up because I think when Rappers Delight came out, it got to a point where everyone probably thought they can rap because
Mm,
it just seems so simple. And first of all,
mm,
Rappers like there was something there. I mean, they had some stories. I mean, they basically went back and forth. I don't know if there was necessarily a hook. I guess no, was it a hook or it was just them going back and forth for 14 minutes. And
yeah.
then they cut up. But the one artist I think really took it to another level. And to a point where even I saw this interview with DMC was like, I heard this in the car and I was like, how are we gonna compete with that?
Hmm.
It was Eric Ray and Rakim.
Oh, yeah.
Rakim came in, and I it's funny. I think in my early 20s, even and 90s, 2000s, if someone said, "What was the best rapper ever?" I would say before I said Nas or Jay Z or all those other ones, I would always say Rakim. For some reason, I
Yeah.
said no, Rakim is the best because the level of technical ability, style, the flow, the Eric B with the beats.
With the
I
beats,
love that
man. Yeah.
jazz influence. That's my favorite part of hip hop, the
Mm,
jazz
mm,
connection.
yeah.
He was on a different level than everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Would you say I would agree with that? Would you say I think there's some for me with his technicality. He reminds me, or Kendrick Lamar reminds me of him in some ways. The storytelling, the ability, that very iconic voice. There's some guys you hear them and they say one word, it's like bam, that's Rakim, or bam, that's Kendrick. Like
Yeah.
there's some similarities for me. But yeah, I forgot. I mean, the first album I bought of his, I believe, was the 17th Letter, which by then that was like his fifth or sixth album. So later, but that's when I first started hearing him. And it's like you're talking like that's like 96, 97 when that album came out. And then when I got that, then I started going back and listening to the old stuff with, Eric B. And then I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to him, listening to Nas, or, it's just like, that's where I like the lyrics. I like the storytelling. I like Slick Rick, listening to some of his stuff. LL was more like, a little tough, but also very, they commercialized, they pushed LL, Pretty
Yeah, I mean,
Boy. They
yeah,
pushed him,
I
but he
need
was
love.
talented as
You
fuck,
listen
like
to
super talented.
even the most aggressive man could
Yeah.
listen to I Need Love and still feel it. Like
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
listening to that earlier actually. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm in the car. I do need love. I think we all need love.
Well, that beat is dope too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it works. He put that song together. It's great, but yeah, Rakim, it's just a different level. Follow the Leader, Microphone Fiend,
yeah.
Lyrics of Fury. He's like destroying, and it's weird that he is not a bigger deal than they should be. I mean, everyone pays homage to him, and I think a lot of the jazz influences. I think he said one of his he loved that jazz. He loved John Coltrane. He said he tried to pattern his rhyme schemes with jazz, which
Mm,
he did it like he explained it. But I'm like, I don't even understand, dude. But
yeah.
like, dude's on a whole different level of an ability. Yeah, the ability to storytell, the flow, the speed. You can slow it down. You can go fast. And I think that Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, they follow like a lot of jazz influences in those records. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Nas. I mean, Nas always
His
talk about how
father,
he
his
loved
father
Rakim.
was a musician. Yeah. So
Exactly. So that was me. And then also how they look, big gold chain. Like it wasn't the baggy pants and looking like they looked classy.
yeah.
They looked like they would still kick your ass, but like I love that kind. And then Big Daddy Kane, he has some really good lyrics in
Oh yeah.
albums as well in that era. So I did like the look of those in that era.
Would you say that? So you think about those the big chains, like the Figaro chains. What's the big one? The rope chain, right? That's just
Oh yeah,
crazy.
that's like
And
iconic. Yeah.
it's so iconic with the bucket hat, some glasses, right? And you think about like the style was just so different from now. Now you got the guys wearing chains, but they're like it's a whole nother look. And I feel like those guys doing it in the 80s, it looks so much better than what I see now. It's just different, but it's like it's just better. I think
Yeah,
a lot of these rappers took a little bit of influence from like some of the guys in the hood, like the Italians with the mobsters. Those guys were wearing chains and
yeah,
Rolexes and pinky rings. So they took that like what looks like power and money and wealth, right? And they influenced that into that some of that hip hop streetwear and stuff. And the 80s look is dope, and it doesn't get much better than that, I think.
yeah. It's interesting because it's like 80s went with the gold chains, then like 90s 2000 went like platinum, and then now I don't know what's going on. Just probably the
It's
most
just all
expensive
diamonds now.
gaudy
It's just,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
But that's how it kind of started when you really think about it in terms of even the early hip hop was how better I am at rapping than you are, how much women I have,
Yep.
how much money, how much more money or in things and possessions I have. Like it started very early
Yeah.
where we were braggadocious, larger than
Absolutely.
life characters. Like that's just how hip hop kind of started. And that's how so many people kind of gravitate towards it. And it brings some other problems, in terms of the culture of, gangster rap.
Mhm.
Um, but in terms of, Garden State kind of put a couple of artists, but yeah, KRS Run,
We
Boogie
haven't
Down
mentioned
Production.
it.
Now we're getting the conscious rap. And it's crazy how everything kind of came together in the 80s. Like how is it, do you feel like how like what's the probability of a new art form be able to dominate the culture, dominate America so quickly? Like in terms of
Yeah.
from now, like especially from 1979 hip hoppity to now, where it's like it's a global force. Like isn't it? It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is because if you think about it, comparing it to other music, popular music like country, rock and roll, blues, jazz, those kind of genres were been around for hundreds of years, and in some cases, and hip hop wasn't, you know, and I think it's cool because we got to also understand this hip hop, the influence they get a lot of island influence, right?
Yep.
Places like where you and I are from, and people from those islands migrated to the East Coast, New York, Miami, right? But mostly a lot of New York, right? And then this blend of that street life mixed with that reggae, jazz, and it became this totally new art form, and it's quite amazing, man, to think about it. So
It's the hip hop is able to be influenced and sample and take so many different things that it's hard that other, I guess, genres of music doesn't. They're not able to do that, or they do it, but it's just for some reason hip hop is able just to be flowing. Like
yeah,
it's very pliable to that type of thing. So it got the political stuff where Public Enemy and very important stuff. I don't know. I guess the more you know me, Pedro, you realize I like a 5 course meal. Of course, anyone does. But I'll eat McDonald's at 3 o'clock in the morning after I drank. Like I don't care. Like it tastes delicious. Or Taco Bell at 2 o'clock in the morning. So
I
like
hear you. Yeah.
Public Enemy was like so serious. Like fight the power. I'm like, man, where's the women?
Hannibal's like, where are the big booty hoes
Where's
at?
the
Like,
big
what's going on
butts?
here?
like, where's the big butts? There's no big butts over here, Chuck D. I understand we gotta fight the power, but we gotta dance. That was, so KRS One, another probably not as appreciated because again,
Yeah.
it's sometimes you can be too technical and too lyrical, and if you're not making people dance, it's kind of like But I
Yeah.
love the lot of songs for the Boogie Down Productions. But you know what? I don't want to get in my East Coast bias because I do have it. It's amazing, but
Well, it's okay.
let's talk about some rappers that are from again all in the 80s from the West Coast. So I think one of my favorite early West Coast rappers, obviously NWA,
Hmm.
and obviously like Ice Cube lyrically, he's pretty
Crazy.
good. I think he's
Crazy.
up there. People don't really mention Ice Cube up there, top 10, the top five usually. That he's a damn good lyricist. I
Absolutely.
mean, he basically,
And
I
he
think
was writing music for other people too in that
he
group. So
propped up, yeah,
I
he
mean,
propped up them. Like it
oh yeah.
was him writing those rhymes. So I don't think he gets enough respect in that regard. But my personal favorite, Ice T.
So you're okay.
I
Okay.
like Ice
Okay.
T. The
Yeah.
flow, he's cool. You he just not necessarily the most lyrical guy, but you want at least I'm like, damn, that's the dude right there.
He is smooth. I think the song I listened to a couple 6 a.m. or 6 in the morning or
Yeah,
something like
Six No
that.
More. Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
I
that's his
mean,
hit. That was his breakout hit. That was his breakout hit. Yeah.
great flow. Great look. Represent where he's from. He had a big booty girl, Coco. So that maybe that's why you like him.
Big fan. Big fan. I mean, I like his acting too.
uh,
Now SVU is cool. I
yeah,
think they
it's
kind of
alright.
did
It's alright.
typecast him.
A little
But
bit.
New Jack City,
Yeah.
everyone watch that
Oh,
movie. I watched that
yes.
movie 10,000 times. He
That's a
convinced
good.
me he was a
Yeah.
cop.
Yeah.
Um,
I like New Jack, but I was a more and this might be night, but Menace to Society was a big movie for me.
oh
Boys in
yeah,
the Hood. Boys in the Hood is like classic.
dude, we can make another podcast about that. I mean, I don't know if
Oh
it's hip
yeah.
hop. It's kind of hip hop related.
It's culture.
And
It absolutely
those
is.
soundtracks,
Yeah.
very good soundtracks for all those
Oh,
movies.
absolutely. So you mentioned Ice-T West Coast. Obviously Ice Cube's the man out there for that era. Um Too Short. I think Too Short gets boxed into this he's talking about women and all, but he has some lyrics,
I was going
flow,
to get out the word,
lot
but
lot of swagger.
yeah,
You know, I was listening to some of his stuff. It's been a while.
he's still making music.
I didn't
Still
know that.
making music. Yeah,
What is he? He's
definitely.
got to be like pushing 60.
Yeah,
He's got to
fuck
be.
it.
He's got
Guys,
to be.
he's a legend. I mean,
Yeah, he
he's
is.
a legend. Yeah, so like yeah, Ice T, obviously Ice Cube. Someone put in the chat, I think Garden State, DLC. Now,
Oh, DLC. Yeah, I had him on my list somewhere else.
dude,
Yeah,
I was
dude.
listening to that again. And I feel so bad because he should have been like one of those guys, but I guess he had something wrong with his voice, and he just damn, he's good. I
Yeah,
mean, we're
somebody else
looking
just
at it, it's
dropped.
his 80s
Yeah,
level.
MC8. He's from West Coast.
Oh yeah, love
Jose's
MC8.
talking about MC8.
Oh yeah, definitely.
DJ Quick. I mean, producer beats. The West Coast is just such a whole nother vibe. I feel like East Coast for me, at least I never lived on the East or the West, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like East Coast is a little more, the beats are different.
Mhm.
Tends to be a little more lyrical. The style's different, a little more like serious sometimes. And the West Coast a little more laid back, a little smoother, a little bit. And then up until NWA came out, then it was like F the Police and this and that. They're talking about, it was a whole nother. Eazy-E was from the streets, living that life, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so different,
That's
for
the
me at
awesome
least.
thing about it. The idea that this art form can, I mean, it's not the best word, but mutate, but in a positive way, depending on where you live, what experiences you've been through. So, listen to hip hop. Like the reason why I listen to hip hop is from my father.
Mhm.
He would play it on the radio all the time, and I loved it. It didn't matter. I just loved, and he would blast it. And one of the things about my father, he'll have a song and play it 15,000 times. But at least it was a good song, so you didn't get tired of it. But he had his favorites, and he would just play it and play it and play it. And the thing about what I love about it is, especially when they started to talk about some serious stuff, even though if
Mhm.
it's a little bit over the top, living in living like he lived in the projects, growing up in the projects, living in the ghetto, living in lower income housing, living in situations where you had to deal with crime and drug use and all this stuff. I mean, shit. Technically, I still live in the ghetto, right?
Mhm.
When you listen to it, someone talking about it in a way that they either like a story or they expressing, and it's you get to understand where they're coming from. And I think even people who live in the suburbs, they listen to that and they're like, wow, is that
Yeah.
real? Is it actually
Yeah.
happening? Is it a
Yeah.
little bit over the top?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It doesn't matter if you're in the West Coast listening to, like the message, right? Like if you listen to that, you're like, damn, it's really going on. But yeah, go to West Coast, 6 in the morning,
Yep.
Ice-T. He's telling you stuff that's probably happened. Or you listening to Eazy-E, right? Or DOC. You really brings people to understanding what's going on in the city.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing because sometimes there's neighborhoods that people don't want to go, and that's what rap can kind of bring that into their homes. They listen, while they listen to it in CD players. back then,
Yeah, right. 8-track CD player. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it brings, so if you're in that neighborhood, you're in that life, if you're seeing the dope fiends, you're seeing the hookers, you're seeing the crack, you're seeing the dealers, and
this is
you know,
80s too.
this
It
is
was
80s, right?
it was
But,
there.
yes, you're seeing the dealers, they got the chains, you're seeing the women, you're seeing all this stuff, you're seeing the moms struggling, the single parents, like you're seeing all these, you're seeing it, and then you're hearing it on the radio. Or a lot of hip hop, you're not hearing it on the radio, you're hearing bumping it in people's cars as they're driving, right?
Mhm.
What is that? Then maybe you hear it on the radio, you hear it at a house party. It's like, okay, you can relate to it. But then, like you're just saying, the people living in the suburbs are understanding, they're seeing news stories about a crack epidemic. Gangs were crazy in the 80s,
Yeah.
people were getting murdered at a crazy rate, right? Crime, so you see it on the news, but then you hear about it in a song, and you get to reflect on that person's perspective, right? Because then maybe they're actually giving you feel like they're giving you the truth, versus the news, maybe it's not really always the truth, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because coming from my perspective, right? I was born in Chicago, right? Chicago's bad. I've been to Cabrini Greens, which has been torn down as a project, seen some crazy things, right? So I've seen the things that these guys were rapping about. I
Yeah.
wasn't part of that life, but I've seen it as a kid and as like a teenager.
Right.
And then you move out of that environment, then you go to like the suburbs, right? And you see all my friends, all the kids, they weren't about that life and never seen it, but they're listening to the music, and they're thinking they're down, but they're not. It was a real weird dynamic growing up, because I would remember seeing stuff and then have these friends that were like pretend to be gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was really strange,
It's I think it's a little bit of everything. I definitely understand what you're saying. I think there's elements of it's so cool. Same thing watching
Yeah.
gangster movies. I mean, while we watch
It's a cool
Godfather,
element.
I've
Yeah.
seen Scarface so many goddamn times.
Yeah.
Why do I? Well, because they're like, man, maybe it'd be kind of cool to be, coke drug lord. Then you see the end of the movie, you're like, yeah, probably not. But
Yeah, you see Michelle Pfeiffer
Godfather,
coming down in a white dress from the staircase. Who
like,
doesn't want that life, bro? I mean, come on.
so it's just interesting. Well, I think I forgot who said this. It was I think Geraldo Rivera. It's like hip hop has done more damage
He did say that,
to.
yeah.
He said something ridiculous, like,
Yeah.
which is it's so. And it's funny. I think he's from. I don't know if he's from the hood, but he's
Puerto
been
Rican.
in.
He's from East Coast. He's grew up dirt poor. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like are you just being hyperbolic? Did you forget that this is already happening before hip hop ever started? Like
Yeah.
the 70s weren't great either. There are gangs, there's still drugs, there's still people doing terrible things. I doubt anyone listened to it. Yeah. I guess his idea is, well, I listened to a rap record, I'm gonna go do something bad. Like, no, things were already messed up.
Yeah.
They're probably using that just to deal. It's just more of that kind of hip hop video games makes you do something, which is totally ridiculous. People already in those bad situations. People either have no parents in the home. It's a little bit more complicated than I listen to NWA. Now I'm a gang member.
Now I'm
Like,
gonna go shoot a cop or something. Yeah, it's there's
there's
got to be
missing some
personal
steps there.
responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
missing several steps. Yeah, several steps for sure.
But I mean, yeah, I'm also I had a list too. EPMD did that thing in the 80s. I forgot about. I thought they were more 90s, but they had their thing going on too.
No, they did. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince real quick?
Oh yeah, you know what? Oh, Will Smith. Listen, I think DJ Jazzy Jeff, he's clearly talented, right? I mean, both of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the song "Summertime." That's a classic song.
Was that
parents
80s or
just
90s?
maybe it's not. Parents just don't understand.
Yeah, that's 80s. Yeah,
that's 80s, right? So for me, like, those guys are super commercial. Will Smith, he could carry a tune. He's not. I put Will Smith in the same vein as MC Hammer. MC Hammer's 80s, right? So a lot of commercial hits, like, but dancing and kind of like, I don't know, just doing too much for me. It's not my flavor, not my cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
But, there's a place for it, and then you got Vanilla Ice. Like, those guys are just a little, I feel like they're just like puppets on a string of a company string. Like, hey, we're going to put you in front of the camera. Can you put
MC
these
Hammer
pants on and dance?
he definitely did it for the money. Because
and no hate, but at the end of the day, like, that's not music.
There's people who say MC Hammer can actually rhyme. Like he's really good. But MC Hammer went with I could make how much money and put these pants on.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I would have done it. You know what I mean? Like,
I had those pants growing up. I mean, I had the
get
little
out of
pants.
here.
Oh, I had them, bro.
You got a
Yeah.
picture?
I burnt them. Yeah. No.
Oh, come on.
I
Dude,
definitely had those pants, so
I
I'm
was
not
gonna
gonna
say,
lie.
let's put that picture as the album cover of
Bro,
this
I had those
volume.
pants, and then once we got into like, I guess I was probably like fourth or fifth grade. I would dress up like Crisscross. This is early '90s. Pant with my hoodie backwards, jeans backwards. You remember Crisscross?
Of
Like I
course, you
was
got a
that.
picture of
I
that.
was. I do actually. I have to. Maybe we'll bring it next week on the podcast.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
was that kid. Like I was like, yeah, I would go to school and people were looking at me like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Oh, you don't know Crisscross?" Like, yeah, I was that dude. Yeah,
That's why
big
a lot
time.
of people think that the influence is so strong that it will lead people to do the wrong thing, but it's not. It's another art form. It has nothing to do with that. Like things are already in place
Hmm.
to put people in the positions where they have to either join a gang or sell drugs or even violence. Like it's not. It's yes, it's very influential, but it's not like, well, I'm going to do something bad because of what I've listened to. At least in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we could talk about the '90s and hopefully get that picture next week. The
Thanks
stuff
for throwing
where
me out there, man.
I was such a nerd. I just listened to stuff. I didn't even bother like trying to dress because I didn't have the money necessarily, and I was just a nerd. So I would just listen to it.
No,
And
I would do all that, and then as we got into like the Midwest, you had like Bone Thugs and all those, then it was like I would wear the Dickies or the long tees, sag my pants, and this is like middle school. So now we're talking '90s, right? But yeah, I was that dude. Like I would definitely look at the hip hop style. And I'm Puerto Rican, but like you could look at me, people, oh, he's a white dude, but he's wearing like cross colors. I used to wear FUBU. I used to wear Carl Kanai, like all that stuff. The
yeah,
hip
that
hop
was the
culture was
style.
big. It was the style, man.
That
Like
was the thing. That was the thing. I mean,
I used to
now
wear
you
all
look at
that.
it like, yeah, but that's how it was. It was nothing wrong with it at the point at the time. Um, so I'm looking at some other artists that it's so many. It's crazy. It just from like KRS One I'm looking at. I don't know if you know who Jazz O is, but he's
No,
basically Jay-Z's mentor. Like he started
that's where
first.
Jay Z got his name from. I've heard.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I don't know the
he's pretty
music though.
decent. He was
Yeah.
decent, but I think I mean we could go talk about the '90s, but I think Jay-Z was able just to package it together to be more mainstream. And also, he's just a really talented
Yeah.
rapper. But I saw
Yeah.
there's a few Jazz O songs that you guys can check out from the '80s. It's pretty good. Heavy D and the Boys. I love Heavy D.
Heavy D.
I
Yeah.
love Heavy D.
Heavy
He
D's
produced, he
definitely
could
got some
rap.
cuts. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got
man.
some cuts. He's I listened to one song, can't remember the name the other day. I was like, yeah, Heavy D. I remember Heavy D. Like he gave hope for the big boys. You know what
Jamaican,
I'm saying?
man. Yeah,
Like,
Jamaican dude,
yeah,
man.
and he had a lot of swag. I had a friend growing up that looked like Heavy D. We called him Heavy D.
Did he
And
like that?
he hated it. No, because he was a big dude, but he could dress. He had a little money, like good looking dude. He was just big, right? So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just
yeah.
called him. Yeah, he hated it.
You know what? But some people don't like being big.
Yeah, it is what
Uh,
it is. Yeah, but let's give a little love. I see Garden State talking about Queen Latifah, MC Light. Um, yeah, the
yeah.
women back then too. UNITY, like they were rapping about significant things, and Queen Latifah could flow. Like I bet right
Oh
now she
no,
could
yeah,
flow.
she
I
don't mess
mean,
around.
she don't
Yeah.
mess around, right? And I think it was cool to see hip hop just blew up so quick, and then the '90s for me, they went to a whole nother level. And now we're at the point where I feel like every decade commercially it gets more popular, but then it's a weird mix because it gets sometimes, like for me, more watered down, because everybody's like, I can be a rapper, I can be SoundCloud, I can do this, I could do that. And it's like everybody wants to. Now you got country guys that do country music, but they're rapping. Like it's all over the place now, right?
Which
So
I don't have a problem with. I mean, I just won't. I give it a chance. And if I don't feel it, I just move on. I would like everyone try it out. Oh, Chubb Rock, forgot about him. Yeah,
oh
definitely,
yeah, dude,
definitely.
Bobby's coming in. Yeah.
But, bring it back to the women that hip hop. Like Roxanne and
Roxanne. Oh yeah.
um.
Did you see
Oh,
that Netflix special they did for Roxanne?
I didn't get to watch it,
It
but
was good. Yeah, I
Hip
saw
Hop
it.
Evolution, I think it's on Netflix. It's a really good
It is. Yeah.
documentary. He talks to that dude talks to everybody. Anyone who's important in hip hop, he's able to talk to them. Like I'm
Yeah.
totally jealous. But in terms of women in hip hop, Salt and Pepper. Now,
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, especially.
Mhm. Salt
Over.
and Pepper, kick it
Yeah,
up
good
one
stuff.
time. Spinderella.
Another like they kind of definitely broke that mainstream. They was able to talk about they would be sexual, but it weren't as overt as we'll talk about in the 90s, where it just went like, all right, cool. But they were sexy, but it was real chill. They had the cool hairstyles, and
Yeah.
I think it was more of a Pepper fan than Saul, but didn't matter. Oh no, DJ Spinderella.
Spinderella, though. Yeah, come on, man.
She was the
Spinderella
cutest there.
she
Oh
was
yeah,
a gal, man. She was, yeah. But no, Salt and Pepper, much love for them, man. I mean, they had the song "Let's Talk About Sex,
yeah.
Baby." Let's talk. I mean, it's a good song, because they're talking of. Also, we got to remember that time, um, the whole like AIDS and like condoms and this and like that's a big topic within that time
Yeah,
frame,
because like I
right?
said before that, no one wore condoms.
Right. So
But
they're,
now people are dying, dropping like flies, and it was like you gotta put a condom on. I'm like, what? Like,
what?
put this tire on my why? That doesn't
That's
okay. Well,
facts, though. That's what was going on right then. And
put on condoms, guys.
yeah,
Age is
yeah.
still around. They're,
It's a thing. Yeah.
it's a thing. And I would say more derogatory things, but I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, Biz Marquee, nobody beats the Biz.
Oh,
Oh
dude.
yeah, I was listening to that song today. Rest in peace, man. He passed last year, I think. Or
Yeah.
2 years ago.
I'm trying to think I'm trying to think of anybody I have written. We talked about Houdini. I mentioned Houdini earlier. Africa Bambaataa, Coogee Rap, Ice-T, Too Short. Yeah, I think that's all the names I had down that were kind of
Well,
in
you
my
also said
brain.
there were songs, or there was, I guess you could say, what artists in the 80s that just you may think is overrated. And again, it's all subjective. It's
Yeah.
all based on your opinion. But like what
Yeah.
80s, and not just because it's simple lyrics, hip hop and hip hop, but like you just wasn't feeling it when everyone
Yeah, I
else
got
was.
Tone Loc. Not a big fan.
Tone Loc, come on, his
No, I
voice.
know.
Come on now.
Okay,
You gotta
the
stop this right
voice,
now.
but I just couldn't. I couldn't get down with that.
Wild Thing, come on, man.
I'm good.
All right.
There was let's see. Oh, the Fat Boys. That's just too. I mean, it's just a little corny for me.
Are you anti-fat?
I'm not. Let's not start that now. Hold on. Let's see. I had one on here that was talked about MC Shannery. Oh, man, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one. Curtis Blow, not a fan.
No, dude.
Yeah, no.
Did you listen to the right Curtis Blow?
Maybe I didn't. But what I heard, I tried a couple songs. I was like,
it's lyrical. I mean, first of all, he's kind of early in the 80s. It's
it's early, I know, but I'm just my
brakes,
flavor, man.
So you put the brakes on. You're not.
I got it right here. I wasn't. These are the brakes. No, I'm good.
I tell you.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. MC Hammer, now I wasn't a fan of him, even though I had the pants, but the pants, I was just, trying to be cool. I think that was I kind of vibed with the Jungle Brothers a little. I was listening to them this week a little bit. Dougie Fresh, man, there's some good Dougie Fresh songs. I think he had a whole different kind of swag, but I'm not the biggest fan of him.
Be like Slick Rick.
I do like Slick Rick only because there's a few songs for me that are just super classic, and his storytelling in those particular songs are just like he paints a picture, and I can just kind of listen. And I feel like I'm listening to a story or reading a book versus in a song, really and I appreciate that. Yeah. That was about it. I mean, some of it's just a little, I don't know, it's just a little too cartoonish for me, man. But that's just me. I don't know.
Well, for me, I kind of already threw mines out. Like, the Beastie Boys just didn't gravitate. Like, I just didn't gravitate toward that. The African Bambaataa stuff, the techno funk thing. Yeah, I just didn't grab. I mean, it was very interesting and very innovative. Again, in the 80s, they were able to connect something. It was very, very. You could tell like it was something different, but it just didn't resonate with me.
I'm gonna play just the intro to that real quick. I don't think we'll get in trouble. We're fine. We're not monetized, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Can you hear that?
Yeah. The crowd is hyped.
No, that's dope, right? The beginning, right? I like that.
I would say production wise, yeah, definitely.
But then I'm done after that. I'm already,
Oh.
I'm on the floor, I'm dancing, but like
Yeah, production wise, beats, but the lyrics are it just.
no
Uh,
lyric. The beat though, the intro to that and getting the crowd
oh yeah,
rocking.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
I mean, that's the
classic,
origin
man.
of hip hop. It's supposed to
It's
be
classic.
in a party, blasting some nice music, and getting people to dance. Bobby
Yeah.
put in. I put this comment in. He's about to unstep if he didn't dig Slick Rick. Yeah, you cannot
Oh
not
no,
like Slick Rick.
I like Slick Rick. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, there's
dude,
no hate
he's
with that.
Marley Mark. Now we
Mm,
didn't. I mean,
mm.
another
We didn't touch
really
on him. I'm gonna pull up a song from him. Let's see.
talented, uh, talented rapper, man. But yeah, my the ones I don't like. Yeah, I think I already said it. Beastie Boys. Yeah, a little bit of African. It's not, and then yeah, the Public Enemy. And I know you're supposed to, as a black person, love Public Enemy because racism or something. But it's just again, it's just
Did you say racism or something?
yeah, like fight the power. I get it, I get it. But
Oh, that's
and they were like
good.
super smart guys. Chuck D, college educated dude. He's like, I was gonna.
Yeah.
I think Rick Rubin tried to bring him into that jam, and he was like, "Nah, man, I'm trying to do something different." And like, all right, bro.
This is I want to play this one real quick. I want to see if anybody in the chat can kind of vibe with this. This is one I sent Hannibal the other day. Ready for this? That beat to me right there is like. So if you guys can tell us in the chat, what song is this? What artist is this?
That beat has been like took with so many different songs.
Oh, I know. So that's enough of that. But so anybody in chat, you get 2 thumbs up. Who is that? Who is that we're just talking about? What song is that?
Oh yeah, Garden State. Yeah, Garden State. We're going to get you on the channel talking. He got everything. Yeah, deals. Doc was damn good. Damn good. And again, like I was saying earlier, he should have been bigger than he was, but things unfortunately kind of went in that direction. Like Eminem I saw an interview. Eminem was reciting the Doc's lyrics, like he was word by word. Obviously, like when you see other rappers go and talk about other rap and then spit the lyrics as if they're doing it, you know that they really, really appreciate it. That's something like one of my favorite videos I've ever seen was when DMX met Rakim. DMX like fanboyed out, like I can't believe it. Like he hugged him a couple of times, and it was so crazy because like DMX, in terms of monetary, like making money, made so much more money than Rakim. People probably know DMX way more than they know Rakim. If you really, for the layman, hip hop fan.
Yep.
But real hip hop fans know what Rakim is. But DMX loved Rakim. He was reciting his lyrics. Like he was a big fan. He fanned out on Rakim. That was like so cool because no matter how successful DMX was, he saw Rakim. He's like, "Yo, I reason why I rap is because of you."
He's like, that's my guy.
That's my hero. Yeah. Like, and it was really, really cool. And that's the kind of thing that it's really amazing about the 80s. 80s like laid the foundation of what we see now. Like it got to the mainstream. Like going back to Rum DMC, they started. It was like, okay, wow, they're actually a hit. They're traveling. They're going across the world. They're performing in different places, bringing this kind of very interesting music that even then, even in the 80s, people thought, will rap ever? Is this going to be a fad? Is it going to die out? And it sure did not. Wasn't going to die out.
And I feel like Run DMC, I don't know this. I should, but I feel like they were one of them and LL were probably the first to kind of start selling out shows and stadiums and really doing on tour, and like people were going to see them, right, and buying tickets weeks or months in advance. Like they kind of paved the way for that,
Yeah, I think so. And because of the branding, I think, I believe they actually had a sneaker deal with Adidas. The quote, I think they did actually. I mean, quote me on it. I think they did. I think it was like the first non-athlete sneaker deal.
Yeah, and LL had a deal with Kango. He's rocking the Kango bucket hats, and
his head is big.
Yeah, well, he does have a big head.
I always say my wife likes LL, but you got a big ass head, and I have a big ass head, so it's like it didn't make like why am I? It's a pot calling color black. Like I have a big head, he had a big head. But I don't know. Oh, it's interesting comment from Jose. The hip hop is dead now, except for a handful of people. Ooh. I would disagree. I still think it's there. It's alive. I don't think it's dead. It really depends on who you're listening to and
What your
Yeah, the
taste
main
is and what you like. Yeah.
and you know what? It's and is the 80s still there, the music's still there. Listen to that. If that's what you like to or the 90s, then you know, the average person stops listening to new music at 29 years old.
Yeah, I remember you said. I think you said you said that this week
Yeah.
to me, and I was like, I didn't think about it. And I think about like I do listen to some new music, but if I'm actually gonna listen to something, it's usually a very select few that's new. It's
Mhm.
mostly the old stuff because
I
it's just
know.
I know it. I know I can turn this album on if I want to work out or run, or if I'm doing yard work, or if I'm just chilling in the car. There's certain albums that I know exactly what I want to get for that moment in my life, for that 30 minutes, that hour, that 10 minutes. And it's all stuff that's not new, you know? So I think, yeah, it's a good point you made. I didn't think about that.
It's well, what helps, at least for me, is these apps. Spotify, Apple Music. It doesn't matter which one you use, Pandora. It really doesn't matter. Those help me listen to new music because without that, yeah, I probably would have stopped because I already know what I like, and I don't want to hear someone new. "You hear this record?" No, smack the record out of their hand. I don't hear that. But where you put on a certain artist you like, or you put on an album and the album finishes, and then Spotify and all these apps with these algorithms, they
Hmm.
can kind of guess what you would like to listen to next. And I've received some music like, okay, I actually like this.
Yeah.
So without that introducing me into something, yeah, you're right. I probably would have stopped. I don't listen to too much. Like music videos was a big deal growing up. Now I couldn't tell you what the latest music video was. So I think with those apps and the technology, it kind of helps you bring
Yeah.
at least some new music to people. So
Do you remember? I don't know if this is a regional thing, but the Box. Did you guys have that on the East Coast? A channel called the Box.
it was called a video box, but maybe
So basically, how I remember it. This is
Mhm.
like same time like you had MTV and like that kind of stuff, but like I think it was like local. It'd be on like on a local particular station or whatever. It was on TV though,
Yeah.
and you could go in and like request songs. And I remember watching videos on the Box, and it'd be like the top 3 or 5 songs, and the video would play constantly because people could either not call in or vote or something on what video they wanted to see, and
Yeah.
whoever got the most votes, like that would come in and you'd see it a lot. So like back in the day, like this is 90s though when I would watch it, but I just remember like learning new music through the Box, you know what I'm saying, or the Source magazine, or that's how I would get my information because we didn't have Spotify and Apple Music, so you had to really search it out. But to your point, it's great now because these algorithms are crazy good, and they just know exactly where to kind of shift you and check this out and suggest this, and you feel like this artist, you might like this artist, and a lot of times they're right, which is kind of wild. But back in
It's
the day when
scary
you're
though.
when you're a kid, yeah, you got to go to the actual store and you got to figure it out. You got to talk to your boys. What are the girls listening to? I want to listen to that. I got to make a mixtape for this girl I'm trying to holla at. Like it was so much harder back then. You know what I'm saying? But have you ever
Yeah.
made a mixtape for a girl
I
or not?
not for a girl. I was a nerd, so I was didn't too nervous to talk to him. But I definitely like just record. I would record off the radio. Like I had the set, cassette tape, which you
Yeah,
youngins,
hit
I think everyone
record and
here knows what a cassette
play.
tape.
Yeah, yeah,
And I would record, and I would hate when they're about to play a song and like it, but the DJ cuts in because that's not the song. He's talking about something else. I get so mad because I'm thinking I was gonna play that song. And I have to wait a little
yeah, yeah, yeah,
longer.
yeah,
Those are some good times because you have to put more effort into the kind of music you want to listen to. Like I
yeah.
said, you had to go read it. You had to go, and I guess that's the one thing I miss growing up. I didn't go to a lot of. I mean, obviously in the '80s, I was a child, but man,
Yeah.
I would like to go to those hip hop concerts and stuff like that, where it just like where you see, you know, all these great artists just putting shows together, just putting stuff together in an art form that's growing. Like it's just started. So who cares where it goes because everyone's doing things a little differently. So
Yeah,
it was an amazing thing actually.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the chat's talking about Yo MTV Raps, the basement. Yeah, I remember all
Oh
that,
yeah, yeah.
man.
That's
That's
all.
crazy.
This is like '90s rap is going to be even
That's
a crazier episode
yeah,
as
I think so.
there's so I mean there's more stuff that we actually could remember in terms of
Hmm.
growing up, seeing everything, and I feel like I don't know, like just a good question to ask right now, like what what would you consider the golden age of hip hop? Is it the '80s or the
Ooh,
'90s?
That okay, so I think for a lot of people, it's going to depend on your demographic. For me, if I had to pick, if you told me, I'll answer it this way: if you told me I could one decade, and you're going to listen to hip hop for the rest of your life, you got to pick one decade, and you can't listen to any other decade. I'm going 90s. I'm taking all the 90s albums I can take, and I'm going to go 90 to 99. That would be my
Over
personal.
Rakim, over
Yes. Yes.
MWA,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
over
Yep.
well, no, you like Beastie Boys, so no idea, no?
Over all that. Yeah, because for me in the 90s, you're going to have more albums that I grew up with and some more I mean, I'm going to have everything from Nas to Jay-Z to Pac to Biggie. I'm going to have Wu-Tang. I'm going to have Tribe Called Quest. I'm going to have a lot to choose from that I personally enjoy. So for me, if I had to pick one decade, it would be the 90s for me.
Is it based on the song qualities or your memories?
It's probably based on my memories, because I'm sure there's a lot of 80s that maybe I'm discounting, right? I think we got to give 80s the props. You got to give it its due. So, we also talk about basketball on this channel, right? So if you look at it like basketball, the 80s were great because you had Lakers and Celtics. They won all the championships with, I think, the exception. I think Houston won one in the 80s. The Sixers won one. But it was the Lakers and Celtics. They saved basketball. Many historians will tell you that. They saved it. It was dying. Magic and Bird came in, same time, same year, right out of college, had a rivalry. Showtime Lakers, gritty Boston. They saved the NBA. If those two guys don't do what they did, NBA might not be as popular as it is now. But for me, I'm a 90s kid, right? I want my Bulls, 6 championships in 8 years, so the Bulls versus the Knicks. Sorry, Hannibal. And, for me, if I'm going to watch basketball, I want some 90s, right?
My highlight is John Starks dunking on Jordan. That's my, you're like, have 6 championships. Yeah, but John Starks dunked on Jordan and Pippen at one time in that one game.
Yeah.
And I wish I had that poster. Like some people have that was a good poster.
Fantastic.
But yeah,
poster.
Actually that's a great analogy in terms of like, because people say that, right? Like even the current basketball is like, yeah, man, but yeah, Will Chamberlain, he dominated, but he was, playing a bunch of plumbers and firemen.
Right, exactly.
But you can't really say like every era is different, and there's, like I said, the foundations. Like the 80s put all this effort and work so the 90s could thrive, and have Lauryn Hill putting. Like I was listening to Lauryn Hill earlier. Damn, that was like.
It's crazy, man.
Next level. But if the 80s didn't do what they did, if Salt and Pepper didn't do what they did, and MC Light and Queen Latifah, does Lauryn Hill even think, oh, I would like to rap or try to do this thing? No, because you listen to the stuff you grew up with, and it builds. So
I think you bring up a great point. I think the 80s, I think most people would consider that the golden age. I do, because of the innovation and the newness of it and the pioneering of it, right? But I think for me, I think a lot of people, if we took a poll, the 90s and early 2000s would be kind of like where it really took off. The lyrics jumped, the album sales went up, like a lot of classic albums in a very short amount of time. If you go 94 to 2002, dude, there's some classics in that era. And, in that particular, like, let's say 8-year time frame. I mean, that's the time frame I want. If I can only have 20 CDs, most of my albums are probably coming from that particular time frame, But I think, the golden age would make sense that it's the 80s. But for me, if I had to pick one decade, it would be the 90s. And we'll get into more of that next week. So,
well, next week we'll be talking about the 90s. And we're probably going to have a lot more because we actually were, we were alive in the 80s, obviously, but in terms of growing up, and really listen. And again, that's when MTV really took off. BET was there. There were real records being made. It was like you could say 80s got to a point where it was getting to mainstream. 90s was it's as mainstream as anything else.
Yeah.
Multi, millions of records are being sold. The biggest acts performing, in the biggest places in the world. So we have a lot to talk about in that. Obviously in the 90s, and we'll probably do some higher, and I'm sure we're gonna have some underrated, overrated, terms of 90s. I'm sure
Yeah.
Page is gonna say something ridiculous, like he said earlier today. I
Probably.
can't believe what he
Probably.
just like. I don't understand how he doesn't like. How's that pot? Like, what did you say you didn't like again?
You see, you don't even remember. It's
I
not
don't
even
remember. I was so angry.
Why? There was a few Dougie Fresh. I think the one I think. Hold on, I don't even remember myself. I think it was.
So you don't like the Fat Boys?
Oh, the Fat Boys.
I like the
Yeah,
Fat Boys.
I'm good. Curtis Blow. That's the one that you
Oh yeah,
did.
that was
Yeah.
really the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
please don't unsubscribe because Pedro doesn't like Curtis Blow. Most people, Curtis Blow was like the first, like the guy. I think he was the first guy.
It's cool,
Like
man. It's
he was
fine.
a little, he was a little bit. He was trying to get to the mainstream appeal a little bit, but yeah, Curtis Blow, the breaks. All right,
I mean, yeah, these are
okay,
the
man.
breaks. I guess. I mean, apparently the breaks are the breaks, but
We're
it
still
is what
friends,
it is.
man. But
It's
it's
okay.
oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this shiny suit era.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
we're gonna talk
Talking
about.
about
We're gonna
Puff
talk about.
Daddy and Mace, and yeah.
I don't. You know what? I'm already saying like, no slander against Diddy.
I'm
No
a big
slander.
I'm a big P Diddy fan. Listen, when I was in high school, my senior year, I was what's called a cadet teacher for my business class. So I would help the teacher run the class, and we had to do a business plan. You know what my freaking business plan was, Hannibal? This is how dumb I was. I thought at that point, I had a little computer. I was like, I would write music and lyrics. I was like, I want to have a record label.
All
So
right.
so in the business plan, you had to put who your competitors were. My dumbass, I had the Source magazine. I cut up pictures of like Puff Daddy, Jermaine Dupri, like Def Jam, all these, Suge Knight, Master P. I'm like, these are the guys that are going to be my competition. So like, I was a huge Puff Daddy fan, like huge Puff Daddy fan. Everything he did, I would listen to.
Yeah.
Do you remember that video, Victory? He had
Oh, yeah, I
Busta
love that
Rhymes
video.
as a gargoyle. Oh my, a fantastic
I
video.
saw that
Great
video
song,
in
actually, too.
school. I don't know how I was supposed to watch the video. They had a TV out. I think it was like an after school program. And I
Dude,
thought that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
dope ass song, dope ass video. He had
Yeah.
Biggie. I mean, I'm a big Puff
Destroying the
Daddy
lyrics.
fan.
Then it had like Busta Rhymes on a perch, like a gargoyle, like
It's a real life front to back, dude. I'm gonna listen to that song when we get
and then
off,
like
man.
Lil Kim showed like for a second. Like, what the hell was going on? Like PD is running. I don't understand what the video was about. What was the video about? Like, what the
P. Diddy went from one year he's dancing in the rain, and then the next year he's running in the rain in the Victory song. It's crazy.
Okay, you know what? Next week. All right. Hold on.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah, PD he was a bit much. He was too much at times. Bobby said you should keep that to yourself, Pedro. But no, bring it out. He could have kept going. You could have kept going. You could have been up there with everybody.
Yeah.
All right. This hour flew by. But before we end, Pedro asked me to check out an artist. And I'll tell you this, I'll tell you right now.
I did.
I feel like this is a major blind spot in my hip hop knowledge. Now, I'm not pretending to be all knowing in hip hop, but the idea that I had no idea who Spice One was.
I was surprised.
It's kind of embarrassing. As embarrassing as Pedro not liking Curtis Blow.
I'll take
more
that.
so. Like, no.
I'll take that. I deserve that.
And so yeah, I checked out Spice One, and I actually spent like 2 days listening to a lot of his music. I don't know how I missed this one. Probably West Coast, probably. Yeah. I'm assuming that's probably it. But I listened to America's Nightmare, and the guy had songs with Tupac. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Dude, he had songs with Tupac, MCA, I think Too Short. He did music with big names. Yeah.
So before I didn't check any YouTube comments or Facebook comments about Spice One, but just looking at his catalog, listen to his songs, and realized that he released an album last year.
I didn't know that.
He is a West Coast legend. Yep. I don't have to look at anything else. I'd go by, listen to the music, listen to who he collabed with. Like he had Tupac in 92. 92. Tupac was another guy.
Tupac in 92 was at the top, man. He was at the top of the food chain in 92.
I was like, no. Not
you don't think so?
Not 92. No.
When did Tupac pass? 94?
Yeah.
I mean, Tupac was there. He wasn't at his pinnacle, but he was still Tupac. I mean,
he was Tupac.
Yeah.
And listen to Spice One. You can tell that a lot of West Coast rappers they pay homage to his style because a lot of them rap like he did. And I'm looking at his album. It's like 92. If you doing you doing this level of high quality, complex lyricism. This is not no hip hop. No, he hip hop
Yeah.
like Sugar Hill stuff. High quality, very complex lyrics. He had different styles, different flows. He kind of had like the G funk kind of thing with Warren G before Warren G,
Hmm.
and he was able to just to go and just have like a be like berserk lyrics. Just again, he's talking about crime. He's talking about drugs. Talking about beating people's asses. Talking about being a great rapper.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird that he didn't become more. Again, so the certain rappers like why he didn't
Yeah.
be as mainstream
Because
as
he was
other
pretty
ones.
hard. He was pretty hard. You got other mainstream. You could be talking about the things he was talking about and be mainstream. I don't know why he never hit, but you go on the
Mm.
West Coast, he's a legend. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I
he's
could just by listening, just by just spending a couple of hours listening, just by looking at the catalog, he is a legend. Because first of all, you have the most influential West Coast rappers on his stuff. That's all you kind of need to know.
that says a
Why
lot.
would
Yeah.
they continue to go and check out and be on his stuff? They know that the guy is putting in that, and he's super
Right.
talented.
Right.
Bobby says that Spice One was too hard to get commercial play. I think he started to like if he would have got in later, maybe because it got to a point where no matter how crazy you got, you can get on. But I feel like
Oh yeah.
maybe him being so not say aggressive, but the content was too early because that album came out in '92.
Yeah.
And the first song that I realized like he was on the I Got Five on a remix. I was like, how the hell
Oh,
did
I
he?
got five. Oh yeah, dude.
So he's on a remix
Yeah.
of that. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you even putting that out there.
Well, I'm glad
Definitely,
you enjoyed some of that. That's
yeah,
what's up.
definitely a blind spot. Spice One, extremely talented dude.
Hmm.
Um,
So who do you got? This is if everybody that's in the chat, appreciate y'all for being here. Please consider hitting the thumbs up, right? And if you're new
definitely.
here, consider subscribing. So appreciate you guys for rocking with us. We're kind of going to try this thing where each week we'll kind of go. Hannibal will give me a suggestion of somebody that maybe I haven't listened to. I'll give them a check out and then do a little bit of review. He just checked out Spice One. So who do you got for me this week? You got
Uh,
anybody?
all right. Well, I don't know how. Yeah, I had one because I was listening to it today, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure if you may know because it seems like you have I'll give you some respect. You know some stuff.
I know a little bit. I know
A little bit, a
just a
little bit about
little,
everything.
just a little bit.
Uh, I should have spent more time on this. Let's see. Do you know anything about Little Brother?
Never heard of it.
Get out of here.
Never heard of Little Brother.
Thank
And
goodness.
maybe if I've heard the song, I don't know that that's the artist, if that makes sense, right?
Okay.
So
So
how
I
do you,
want
is it Lil?
you,
Lil?
yeah, like Little Brother. They're
Little
from
brother.
North
Okay.
Carolina.
Okay.
So, J. Cole territory.
Is this new stuff? Yeah.
No.
Current? No, it's older. Or
Current 2000s.
2000s.
2000s
Okay.
to now. Very,
Okay.
very, you can get into it too.
Okay.
Do you know Ninth Wonder, right?
Sounds familiar, but I don't think I
Okay,
don't
so
think
you're
yeah.
gonna have a very great
Okay.
listening experience. So Ninth Wonder is probably one of my favorite producers. He's up there with Kanye. Like even Kanye is like Ninth Wonder. You make great beats. He said that in one of the songs. Like
So these are the guys right here.
yes,
Okay,
North
got it.
Carolina.
Okay.
And if you want to listen to one album, it's called The Listening.
I got it right here, deluxe album. It's on there, so I'm gonna click on that, and I'm
If,
gonna add it, and I'll
if
listen to
you
that.
like Kanye soul beats,
Okay,
then you're gonna like Knife Wonder. Knife Wonder, all
nice.
he does
Okay,
is soul beats. He's a soul beat master, and I think you're gonna really, really enjoy. Two guys. Fonte is the darker one, not the big. The big one's called Big Pooh.
okay.
Fonte's lyrics, he can hold his
So
own.
this is
Big
this
Pooh's
is
pretty good.
2003. I am man, just how you were surprised you didn't know who Spice One is. I'm surprised I didn't. 2003 was
Like
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 my
Spice One
time.
is a legend. I wouldn't necessarily call this
These
group
guys aren't
a
legends.
legend,
Okay.
but Knife Wonder is one of the best producers ever. So he was the one who put the beats to this, and it's a few albums, but I think I like the listening the most.
Well, this one's got a lot of it's 43 tracks, but half of them are instrumental or bonus tracks. So it looks like there's about 17 songs, 18 songs,
Yeah,
and then a lot of like remixes. Okay. I
yeah,
see
check
Ninth
that out.
Wonders on
I
here.
think
Okay.
you're gonna enjoy it. I think
I'll check it out.
very, very, they put in some effort of really good. You got some good storytelling. You got some like check it out. We can definitely talk about that. But yeah, next week is gonna be 90s. I don't know if you can. I think we should do a little bit longer than an hour because the 90s a lot going on there.
I think
The TV
90s is
shows.
going to be a lot. I got a lot to bring for that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the era that I started listening to hip hop. As you know, because in 90, my first album I bought was in 91 or 92. So that's when I started. So for me, a lot of nostalgia there. Big respect for 80s. They paved the way. But 90s for me is where it's at. So I think we definitely got to go at least an hour and a half next week.
Yeah, we'll do that. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. We could talk about our favorite rappers, also our overrated rappers, like who you thought just got a lot of attention for no reason or we didn't like. I off the top of my head, I can't even tell you what I don't like. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure
From
there
the
is something
90s? Yeah, there's some. I mean,
that
there's
it definitely exploded in terms of mainstream appeal, and like I said, the talent, the production, everyone put more effort in. You couldn't just do the ABC rhymes,
yeah.
right? Like you had to put that extra level of creativity in there. So we definitely gonna do that. On that note, thank you guys for staying. We had a consistent group staying in, talking about all types of 80s rappers. Now we're gonna go into 90s, which is interesting because like 80s was 40 years ago, and now we're gonna go 30 years ago. Time is flying by. We're old, man.
Dude,
It's over, man.
get off my lawn.
Gary's like,
We are those guys for sure.
we're definitely those guys. But on that note, I appreciate everyone who came in, checking out the replay. Like, subscribe. All the links of the podcast will be down there if you want to listen to it while you're in your car doing what you gotta do. And we got some homework for Pedro. Gonna listen to Little Brothers Listening.
Yes.
I think he's gonna like it. Well, we say he may hate it. Who knows? I mean, maybe it sounds like there's a bunch of Curtis Blows in there. Just
but yeah, stay tuned because I'll say something ridiculous next week as well.
I appreciate it.
I'll have somebody on the overrated list and be like, "What? You're crazy, bro!" But I'm gonna be honest. So it is what it is.
That's what we need. We need honest feedback. And Dirty Hands Raider, this is definitely going to be my favorite live. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. We enjoy it. I mean, this is like a labor of love, but we are doing this because we really passionate about hip hop and want to talk about it. And we like, anyone who wants to come with that journey and great ideas, great names you throw in there during the yeah, we're gonna talk about that in the 90s, Lost Boys.
Oh, LOST Renee is one of my favorite hip hop songs, dude. Oh my god, I can't even wait for next week, bro. Oh, the LOST, the BOYZ, those are my dudes. Mr. Cheeks is my guy, man. Oh,
definitely. And Jose, yeah, we're not old, we're in our prime. That's why I say
we need to. We're going 2 hours next week.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm ready. We'll do it live. We want to do.
What do y'all think in the chat? What do y'all think? Do you guys like the live? So we got some people in here. Appreciate y'all rocking. Jose, Dirty, the W.
Bobby up in here, definitely.
A Glass Half Empty was up here earlier. Garden State. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the live? Do you like a pre-recorded and then we do it as a premiere and you guys could rock with us in there? Do you guys have a preference? Let's see what y'all.
Jose already said it has to be live.
We ain't. You know what? I think we talked about not doing a live like every week, but I think the 90s, I think we need to go live because I think that's the time, I got a lot to say, good and bad. So let's just rock with it live next week. Yeah.
All right. So we heard it first. We're going to go completely live next week, Wednesday, 10 Eastern. And yeah, we're going to, I got a lot. I got probably too much. You got too much. I got too much. I'm sure
we each need an hour. Yeah, we each need an hour.
So and yeah, we're gonna talk about what we've seen on TV. Obviously, this is where the music videos blew up. We're gonna talk about Hype Williams and the ridiculous videos that he created.
There you go.
Obviously, it's a lot to discuss. But on that note, thank you for taking time to check us out. Like, subscribe, do all that great stuff, and we'll see you guys next week live at 10 p.m. Eastern. Peace out.
Yes, sir.